My girlfriend said, "I'm not introducing you to my new coworkers. They think I'm single and it's good for networking." I said, "Professional boundaries matter." Then I showed up at her office holiday party as a +1 of her married coworker. When I introduced myself as her boyfriend to her entire department, I 31 mail fix things for a living, not metaphorically. I literally work in IT infrastructure, and my whole personality is basically identify the problem, solve the problem, move on. I'm not flashy. I'm not the guy who walks into rooms and turns heads. But I'm steady and I show up. Always have. My girlfriend and I had been together for 2 years when this whole thing went sideways. 2 years of Sunday morning coffee, of me driving 4 hours round trip to help her move into her new apartment when she landed her job at a consulting firm, of holding her hand through the anxiety spiral she had during her first performance review. 2 years of what I genuinely believed was a real relationship between two real adults. So when she sat me down in October and said she needed to talk about the upcoming holiday party, I figured it was logistics. Which night, what to wear. Maybe she was nervous about me meeting her work people for the first time. I was half right about the nervous part. "So the thing is," she started, twisting the throw pillow in her lap like it owed her money, "I haven't really told anyone at work that I'm in a relationship." I waited. They all kind of think I'm single. And it's just easier that way. For networking. People treat single women differently in professional settings. They invite you to things. They include you more. It's a strategy, not a personal thing. I stared at her. "You've been there 8 months. "I know. 8 months, and not one person knows I exist. It's not like that. So what's the plan for the holiday party?" She exhaled slowly, like she'd rehearsed this part specifically. "I just think it's better if you don't come. Just this year. Next year, things will be different. I promise." I didn't raise my voice. I just said very calmly, "You want to stay home so your coworkers think you're available. I want to protect my career. By pretending your boyfriend doesn't exist. By managing my professional image." Those words just sat there between us. Managing her professional image. Like I was a liability. Like 2 years of my life was a PR problem she needed to contain before it leaked. I told her I needed to think about it. She looked relieved, like she assumed thinking about it meant I'd eventually come around and agree to disappear quietly. I did think about it, just not the way she expected. Here's what she didn't know. I work out with a guy from my gym, married, about 10 years older than me, solid person. He happened to work at the same company in a completely different department. We'd been gym partners for close to a year at that point. When I told him, carefully, without making a whole dramatic thing, that my girlfriend worked there and I was in an awkward spot regarding the holiday party, he didn't even hesitate. "Come as my +1, he said. "My wife skips these every year. Hates them. I always bring someone, so I'm not stuck cornered by the VP of Finance all night. I want to be clear about my mindset going in. I was not looking for a public scene. I was not trying to blow anything up. I was simply done being erased by someone who claimed to love me, and I wanted to exist in a room where she decided I couldn't. There's a meaningful difference between those things." The party was at a hotel ballroom downtown. Nice venue, open bar, past appetizers, one of those Christmas trees that cost more than my rent. I walked in next to my gym buddy wearing the charcoal blazer. She once told me made me look stupidly handsome, and I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Calm. Just completely calm. I spotted her within 4 minutes. She was laughing at something a tall guy in a navy suit was saying, her hand resting lightly on his forearm, doing the whole performance of someone who was very available and very unbothered. She looked relaxed, happy even, like she was exactly where she wanted to be, doing exactly what she planned. She hadn't seen me yet. My gym buddy handed me a drink from a passing tray and said quietly, "You good?" "Yeah," I said. "Let's go say hello." The first person to approach us was a woman from my gym buddy's department. We did the whole introduction round, and when she looked at me and asked how we knew each other, I smiled and said we worked out together, and that I was also there because my girlfriend worked in the consulting division. Maybe she knew her? I said her name. The woman's face lit up. "Oh, she's great. She's actually right over." And she turned and waved across the room. Time genuinely slowed down in that moment. My girlfriend turned. Her eyes found me, and for exactly 3 seconds her face ran through confusion, recognition, and pure terror in one single breath. Then the professional smile snapped into place like a visor coming down. She walked over smooth and controlled, like she was approaching a client she hadn't expected to see, and said, "Hey!" What a surprise. "Hey," I said, and then to the woman standing with us, I reached out my hand and said, "I'm her boyfriend. We've been together 2 years." The woman shook my hand warmly and said, "Oh, she never mentioned." "No," I said pleasantly. She hadn't gotten around to it yet. She pulled me aside almost immediately after that. Professional smile still locked in place. Voice dropped to a tight whisper. "What are you doing here?" "Networking," I said. "This isn't funny." "I'm not laughing. You need to leave right now. If you actually care about me at all." "I care about you a lot. That's actually the whole problem." She stared at me and then shifted strategies in real time. Her voice softened. She reached out and touched my arm. "Baby, please. Just tonight, can I just pretend I don't exist? I already tried that. Didn't work for me." She dropped her hand. The softness was gone. "You're going to ruin everything I built here. I'm going to introduce myself to people. That's it. Whatever you build on a lie, that part's on you." She walked away and immediately folded herself into a loud, animated conversation with the guy in the navy suit, putting as much visible distance between herself and me as the room allowed. I went and talked to people. Normal party stuff. About 40 minutes in, one of her project team colleagues pulled me into a conversation near the bar. Warm, genuine person. And she said something completely offhand that hit me like cold water to the face. "It's funny. She actually mentioned she was seeing someone briefly a few months back, but she said it ended. We all felt bad for her." I kept my face completely neutral. "When was this?" "Oh, maybe June or July." She said the guy just wasn't where she was professionally. "June, July. We were together in June and July. In July, I had taken her to her cousin's wedding as her date. I had the photos on my phone with timestamps. She hadn't just hidden me from her coworkers. She had actively told them we'd broken up. She had built an entire fictional version of her life in which I had existed briefly, been found inadequate, and been left behind. I wasn't just invisible. I had been written out of the story and replaced with a cleaner narrative where she was already over me. I excused myself from the bar conversation and stood near the edge of the room for a minute just breathing. I found her again. She was with a group of 5 or 6 people, holding court, bright and animated. I walked over. She saw me coming, and her eyes did that quick calculation, looking for exits. "Sorry to interrupt," I said, genuinely pleasant. "I just wanted to properly introduce myself, since I haven't met everyone. I'm her boyfriend. 2 years this past August." I pulled out my phone and showed them the photo from her cousin's wedding in July. Her in her bridesmaid dress, me in my suit, both of us grinning at the camera. We went to her cousin's wedding together over the summer. Great night. One of the guys in the group looked at the photo, then at her, and started to say, "Wait, I thought you said you were single when we," and then stopped himself, visibly uncomfortable. The silence after that was enormous. She said very quietly, "Can we talk outside?" Outside in the carpeted hallway by the coat check. The performance dropped completely. What came out wasn't remorse. It was fury. "Do you understand what you just did in there?" she said, her voice shaking. "I showed people a photo of us at a wedding. You humiliated me in front of my entire department. You told your co-workers we'd broken up while we were still together. That was to protect myself professionally. You told people I wasn't on your level." Pause. Longer one this time. "You weren't supposed to find out about that. Not I'm sorry. Not that was wrong. Just, you weren't supposed to find out. I think we both know where this ends," I said. She stared at me and then straightened up, lifted her chin, and said, "You're going to regret making an enemy of me. I know people. I can make things very difficult for you." I almost laughed. "Good luck," I said. "I'm going back inside." Within 2 days of the party, she had a narrative fully built and deployed. She was calling it a toxic ex who had crashed a professional event and harassed her in front of colleagues. She sent that version through mutual friends and through a direct message to my gym buddy. Clearly try to get ahead of it. Get her story out first. My gym buddy forwarded me her message. It was honestly impressive work. She had me as controlling, jealous, struggling with the relationship dynamic for months. She positioned herself as someone who'd been quietly managing a difficult situation, and the party was simply the moment my erratic behavior became impossible to ignore. She was building a case. Problem was, it was made of smoke. Then she escalated. She called my workplace. She called the main line, asked for HR, and told them she was filing a complaint about a threatening and hostile former partner who was an employee there. My HR director called me in the next morning, heard the complaint, asked me to walk her through what happened. I walked her through everything, start to finish. Then I pulled out my phone and showed her the text history, months of normal relationship texts, the wedding photo with the date stamp from July, the screenshot of the message she'd sent to my gym buddy calling me erratic and harassing. My HR director looked at all of it. Then she told me she'd need to document that a complaint was received and investigated. The investigation would be closed as unfounded. My job was fine. A few days after that, I received a cease and desist style letter in the mail, not from an actual attorney. She'd written it herself using a template she clearly found online. It demanded I refrain from contact and from discussing private matters with third parties. I spent $150 on a 30-minute consultation with a real attorney who told me it had no enforceable mechanism and essentially amounted to a strongly worded letter with a fancy header. The attorney also told me something useful. The things she had done, constructing and spreading a false narrative about me to third parties, contacting my employer with fabricated claims. Those had actual names in civil law, defamation, tortious interference. Not always straightforward to litigate, but not nothing. Here's what she didn't account for. I keep records of everything. It's an IT brain thing. I just document by default. I had 2 years of relationship history without even trying. Photos with timestamps, text chains, and emails she had sent me from her official company email account, including one from July, 2 weeks after she'd apparently told her co-workers we were done. That said, missing you. Can't wait for this weekend. Love you. Sent from her work address. Logged and timestamped. I also had a voicemail she left me the night before the party, trying to talk me out of going, which included the line, "I just don't want you showing up and ruining what I've worked for." She had handed me everything I needed without realizing it. I sent one email, not to her manager, not to her colleagues, to her company's HR department directly, because what she had done, maintaining a false personal identity at work for professional gain, using company email resources and process, and then attempting to damage a real person's employment using fabricated harassment claims. That was a workplace conduct matter. It was her problem to own at her own company. The email was 3 paragraphs. Completely factual, zero emotion. I attached the July email she'd sent from her work account, the wedding photo with the date stamp, the screenshot of the message she'd sent to my gym buddy framing me as a harasser, and a brief summary of the HR complaint she'd filed against me at my employer, which had been investigated and formally closed as unfounded. I didn't ask for any specific outcome. I didn't demand anything. I laid out the facts and let them know that a current employee had used professional relationships and company resources in connection with a false personal narrative, and had then attempted to damage a third party's employment using fabricated claims. Then I pressed send and went to make coffee. Through my gym buddy, who stayed neutral and decent throughout this entire thing, I heard that things moved fast at her company. HR took the documentation seriously, particularly the work email she'd sent me during the period she'd told colleagues we were no longer together. They looked into it, apparently found other inconsistencies. She wasn't immediately terminated. Employment situations like this take time, and companies are careful about the process. But she was placed on a formal performance improvement plan within 3 weeks of my email. In consulting, a PIP is usually the beginning of the end of a particular chapter. The carefully curated professional identity she spent 8 months building, the focused, single, fully committed rising star, had a crack in it that HR now knew about, and that wasn't going away. The mutual friend she'd used to spread her story about me contacted me directly after eventually hearing my side, apologized for passing along the narrative without questioning it, and quietly stopped talking to her. The fake cease and desist letter sits in a folder on my desktop, right next to the written confirmation from my own HR director that my file contains 0 adverse findings. I'm not going to pretend the whole thing felt like some huge triumphant moment. Mostly I felt tired. 2 years is a long time to invest in someone, and even when you find out that person was capable of building a fictional breakup, filing false HR complaints, and sending fake legal threats, you still have to sit with the fact that you love some version of them. You made coffee for them on Sunday mornings. You drove 4 hours to help them move. You don't get that time back. You just carry it differently. What I didn't feel was regret. Not about the party. Not about the email. She had multiple off-ramps throughout all of this. She could have been honest when I found out about the fictional breakup she'd told her coworkers. She could have handled it with some dignity when I showed up at the party. She could have let the hallway conversation be the start of something real. Instead, she called my job. She sent a fake legal letter. She tried to recruit mutual friends into a false version of events. Every escalation was a choice she made. Show up. Tell the truth. Keep your receipts. The rest takes care of itself.